At the same time, added Château-Renaud, your Count of Monte Cristo is a very fine fellow, always expecting his little arrangements with the Italian banditti. There are no Italian banditti, said Debray. No vampire, cried Beauchamp. No Count of Monte Cristo, added Debray. There is 10:30 striking, Albert. Confess you have dreamed this, and let us sit down to breakfast, continued Beauchamp. But the sound of the clock had not died away when Germain announced, His Excellency, the Count of Monte Cristo. The involuntary start everyone gave proved how much Morcerf's narrative had impressed them, and Albert himself could not wholly refrain from manifesting sudden emotion. He had not heard a carriage stop in the street, or steps in the antechamber. The door had itself opened noiselessly. The Count appeared, dressed with the greatest simplicity, but the most fastidious dandy could have found nothing to cavil at in his toilet. Every article of dress, hat, coat, gloves, and boots, was from the first makers. He seemed scarcely 35. But what struck everybody was his extreme resemblance to the portrait Debray had drawn. The Count advanced, smiling, into the center of the room, and approached Albert, who hastened towards him, holding out his hand in a ceremonial manner. Punctuality, said Monte Cristo, is the politeness of kings, according to one of your sovereigns, I think, but it is not the same with travelers. However, I hope you will excuse the 2 or 3 seconds I am behindhand. 500 leagues are not to be accomplished without some trouble, and especially in France, where, it seems, it is forbidden to beat the postilions. My dear Count, replied Albert, I was announcing your visit to some of my friends, whom I had invited in consequence of the promise you did me the honor to make, and whom I now present to you. They are the Count of Château-Renaud, whose nobility goes back to the 12 peers, and whose ancestors had a place at the Round Table. Monsieur Lucien Debray, private secretary to the Minister of the Interior. Monsieur Beauchamp, editor of a paper, and the terror of the French government, but of whom, in spite of his national celebrity, you perhaps have not heard in Italy, since his paper is prohibited there. And Monsieur Maximilien Morrel, captain of Spahis. Okay, let's just take stock in that last sentence there, just how many freaking characters there are in this scene. Albert, 1. Monte Cristo, 2. Château-Renaud, 3. Beauchamp, 4. Debray, 5. Maximilian, 6. Too many people. As a writer, even, I mean, yes, I'm complaining as someone who has to read each of these voices out loud, but as a writer, even, it is difficult to juggle that many voices in a scene. Keeping them all straight, their different philosophies, their different motivations. It's a lot. And I do appreciate just the kind of administrative passage here of taking inventory of everyone and how they exist in the world. So Château-Renaud is named after him being the Count, the way that Dumas calls Dante Monte Cristo here. Good to get confirmation that Beauchamp is actually the editor of a paper. We speculated on that. I speculated on that. And good to actually have confirmation. Debray and Morrel, we kind of already knew through context clues. And Dumas taking a interesting approach at Dante's arrival here. It's somehow having it both be mythic and rooted in character experience so as to maybe question the mythic qualities. What I mean by that is like, when Monte Cristo, I'm calling him Monte Cristo now, when Dante arrives at the door, it puts it in Albert's experience by saying he had not heard a carriage stop in the street or steps in the antechamber. The door had itself opened noiselessly. Like, he just emerges out of a mist as if he is a vampire. What if all this time away from Dante, we missed the story where he became a vampire? I mean, it would be interesting. Would it be the story we want to read? Anyway, there's a kind of supernatural quality to him through Albert's eyes. Dumas is putting us in Albert's experience recognizing that. But, you know, it limits the perspective enough for us to go, did Dante just appear? Or is this just what it appeared like to Albert? Because the latter, which is true, accounts less for Dante being supernatural, which we know he's not, but the work he's put into his mystique. He has trained himself to know how to arrive in an enigmatic way, and I'm sure leave in an enigmatic way, and just live an enigmatic life. And so it's accomplishing both at the same time, which I find to be a really interesting line to toe and very difficult, I think, to pull off. But Dumas does it wonderfully here. And then Dante, I don't know quite what to take of this. It's kind of performative supplication in a way, where he says, punctuality is the politeness of kings, but it is not the same with travelers. I hope you will excuse the 2 or 3 seconds I am behindhand. As if anyone needs to apologize. It's more like he's drawing attention to how punctual he is by apologizing for the 2 or 3 seconds he's late, if you know what I mean. It'd be like meeting someone at a restaurant for dinner, and you're both walking from your separate cars up to the front door, and you're 2 steps ahead of them, and you arrive at the front door, turn around with the other person right on your heels, and just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm 2 or 3 seconds late." You know, what is that really communicating to the other person? Okay. We have a sea change here with Dante re-entering the scene. I'm curious now how he's going to navigate 5 other people beyond Albert, I guess 4 beyond Albert, that he did or didn't expect. How is this going to change his plan? What is his plan? He has now stepped foot on the property of Fernand, folks. Mercedes is just like a saber throw away. Things are heating up. And speaking of heating up, this podcast studio, I got to do something about it. It is so hot in here during this heat wave we're having. I can only do like 1 episode at a time. I'm sure you can hear my voice getting fatigued as I talk. So I'm going to cut this one short here and ask y'all to meet me here tomorrow for a little bit more of Chapter 40. Until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.